we push this out. And it's one thing for, somebody around the internet to see this and it get put out there, yada, yada, yada. But now a couple of things has happened. Number one, this clip was put out by USA Basketball themselves.
This clip wasn't posted by accident, this wasn't random, and it definitely wasn't harmless. USA Basketball chose this moment, Paige Bueckers blocking Caitlin Clark, and pushed it to millions of fans knowing exactly what would happen. Next, debate, division, narratives. And once you see how this game is really played behind the scenes, you won't be able to unsee it because this isn't just about one block. It's about power, it's about politics, and it's about who gets protected and who doesn't in women's basketball. Stay with me because what you're about to hear explains why Caitlin Clark keeps getting treated differently and why the same names always seem to benefit. When the dust settles, this didn't come from a random fan page or some engagement farming account. This was posted directly by USA Basketball themselves. Their official social media team selected this exact clip of Paige Bueckers blocking Caitlin Clark's shot and pushed it out to millions of followers. And if you think that choice was accidental, then you haven't been paying attention to how women's basketball power dynamics actually work behind the scenes.
Tell me USA Basketball doesn't have agenda? It shined through loud and proud when Diana Taurasi made the Olympic team. And Caitlin Clark didn't. Diana Taurasi proceeded to be somebody that was holding the bench down. At the end of the bench, not even able to play. Too old, too tired. Nah.
Think back to 2024, when Diana Taurasi made the Olympic roster and Caitlin Clark was left off entirely. Taurasi barely played in Paris. She spent most of the tournament on the bench, clearly limited, while the team leaned on the idea of veteran leadership. Meanwhile, the player who had just shattered the NCAA all-time scoring record and was dominating, headlines never got the call. That decision didn't make basketball sense, but it made perfect sense once you understand who influences these rosters. Sue Bird, Gino Auriemma, the long-running UConn pipeline that has shaped USA Basketball decisions for more than 20 years.
The Angel Reese fans, the Paige Bueckers fans, they wet themselves, right? Yeesh. That's not something you want to think about. And it's one thing for the most horrible place known to man, called social media, to try to take victory laps with this. I mean, okay, you sort of expect that out of the worst of the worst. Do you not? Question mark?
Paige Bueckers checks the same boxes Sue Bird once did, and that's not speculation. That's observable reality. Now you're watching. The media engines slowly spin up to justify what comes next. USA Basketball drops the clip. Engagement pours in. The storyline gets planted early. And by the time roster decisions roll around for the 2026 World Cup or the 2028 Olympics, months of narrative groundwork has already been laid explaining why Paige should be chosen over Caitlin.
WNBA insider Annie Costabile was among the media members present at Team USA training camp, and she addressed Clark's defense during the December 15th appearance on the Indy Stars Fever Insider podcast. Quote, "Her shot is still there. That was one of my leads, but that the shot of hers that we're all so familiar with is still there. Her speed was coming back, which I thought stood out. Obviously, her timing on passing, that was still impressive." Costabile said when I would assume Chloe Peterson asked her what stood out about Clark's Team USA performance.
Andrea Carter, a WNBA insider with Front Office Sports. She attended the December 15th Team USA training camp and later addressed Caitlin Clark's defense on the Indy Stars Fever Insider podcast. She said Caitlin's shooting looked solid, her speed was returning, and her passing timing was impressive, but then added that defense is still an area that needs improvement. She mentioned Clark matching up with Kelsey Plum and Paige Bueckers and framed it as watching how these two players will operate together someday. Notice that wording. Not if they'll play together, when they will. The message had already been sent.
Then seeing her and Paige on each other. I don't think it's a matter of one versus the other. You're watching, kind of evaluating how these two players are going to operate together one day. And I think that was so more exciting than telling. I mean, it's funny. So we're going to take the one thing about Caitlin's game and we're going to go after Caitlin over it. You knew that was going to happen. This was going to happen. We're going to zero in on this one thing after she'd been injured. Played 13 games.
Here's what that analysis left out. Caitlin Clark only played 13 games after returning from injury last season. 13. She didn't have a real offseason to focus on defense because she was rehabbing. She didn't get a full training camp to rebuild conditioning because she was managing her return. Then she shows up to a December showcase, still shaking off rust, and suddenly her defense becomes the main talking point. Meanwhile, Paige Bueckers has missed massive chunks of her college career due to injuries, including an ACL tear and a tibial plateau fracture. Yet you don't hear the same questions about her lateral movement or defensive impact. The standards aren't being applied evenly.
Like 3 times. Man, delete this. Yeah, this is USA Basketball posting this. I mean, what are they doing? They knew this was gonna be a Caitlin Clark versus haters post, and that the haters were gonna swarm this. To be honest, it's unprofessional that USA Basketball posted this and pointed it out. They knew that was going to get seized on.
Scroll through the comment section on that USA Basketball post. This is exactly what they expected. Paige cooked her. Barbecue chicken. Caitlin's overrated. Paige over Caitlin all day. The backlash arrived right on schedule. And that's the point. USA Basketball didn't share that clip because it showcased elite defense or a great basketball moment. They shared it because they knew it would spark engagement, fuel debate, and hand ammunition to critics who've been looking for reasons to downplay Caitlin Clark since day one. This is narrative building in real time. You seed the perception early, let it sit on social media for months, then reference it later when making decisions that were already planned.
That the haters were going to seize on this. Honestly. Someone please gift that. I can already hear the CC fans coming. See, I mean, they knew what they were doing. They knew. Cooked CC. Shout out to USA Basketball for giving us the content we wanted.
UConn influence isn't subtle. Gino Auriemma was praising Paige Bueckers long before she played a single WNBA game. Sue Bird has been positioned as a central voice in USA Basketball decision-making for years. Now you've got media insiders framing Caitlin as defensively limited while presenting Paige as the inevitable future pick. That's how the system works in women's basketball. It's not strictly about who's performing best right now. It's about who fits the preferred storyline and aligns with the people in power.
Agenda. Propaganda. Tell me what you think. It is Caitlin Clark fans against everyone all over again. Here we go. Here we go. It's not even 2026 yet. So it begins.
Here's the bigger picture. Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented attention to women's basketball. She packed arenas. She drove television ratings that league hadn't seen in decades. She pulled casual fans into women's college basketball and carried that momentum straight into the WNBA. And for all of that impact, she was left off the Olympic team in favor of a veteran who couldn't stay on the floor. Now the same pattern appears to be repeating. USA Basketball promotes clips that elevate Paige while inviting scrutiny of Caitlin. Media voices highlight Caitlin's weaknesses without context. UConn connections continue shaping roster decisions. at the highest level. And the most frustrating part, Caitlin Clark has no control over any of it. She can't control what USA Basketball posts. She can't control how insiders frame their commentary. She can't control the biases behind closed doors. All she can do is perform at an elite level and hope that eventually production outweighs politics. But if you followed women's basketball long enough, you already know how this story usually ends. The Yukon Circle protects its own. And that's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to talk about. This isn't about effort. It's not about talent, and it's not even about results on the court. It's about who controls the narrative before the decisions are ever made. Caitlin Clark can sell out arenas, she can break records, she can dominate headlines, and change the sport forever. But none of that guarantees protection when politics enter the picture. USA Basketball doesn't just pick rosters, they shape perception. Media insiders don't just analyze, they steer conversations. And once a storyline is planted early enough, it becomes common knowledge, whether it's fair or not. The real question is this: at what point does performance actually matter more than connections? And do you think Caitlin Clark will ever be judged by the same standards as everyone else? Or is this system already too locked in? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you agree, hit like so more people see this. And if you're tired of watching narratives decide careers, make sure you're subscribed because this conversation isn't going away anytime soon.